Yo, what's up? This your boy Derrick Brian here at strike7sports.com. This is another episode of Strike 7 Sports Podcast. I'm joined by my co-host Brian Botter for tonight. I'm assuming Leo Seaberry will be joining us soon, but for right now, just me and Brian. And we're gonna go right into it. First 2 weeks of college football have started off, and I would say somewhat of a surprise by certain outcomes of certain games, more in particular with this Alabama Texas game. I think we did a weekly pick. We started a weekly picks column on the Strike Seven Sports website, and this is and the Alabama Texas game was one of the games that we choose to pick and predict. And all of us in a landslide vote, we picked Texas to win this game. We felt like not Texas, excuse me. We picked Alabama to win this game, but we all felt like Texas could have put up a fight, but it wouldn't be enough to win the game. But it was closer than what we thought it was going to be. Alabama won the game by a score of 20-19 on a last-minute field goal by the Crimson Tide. The Crimson Tide. Texas were what the Texas offense and the defense was pushing Alabama to the limit. Quinn Evers left the game with, I believe, a shoulder injury, if I'm not mistaken. Left the game. The quarterback up quick QB came in and he did what he could to against the Alabama defense. I think I would say that he was successful to a certain extent, but he wasn't making the throws that Quinn Edwards was making against this Alabama defense. When that being said, I just want to ask you the outcome of this game. Do you think these are real issues for Alabama going forward with their in regards to their playmakers on the outside?
Yeah, no doubt about it. If they don't fix these issues, I don't think they could still win it, but it will definitely be a whole lot harder than some people thought. Some people thought they would kind of cruise through the regular season and they get challenged in the playoffs, but if they're not careful, they may not even make it to the playoffs. Uh, but also give credit to Texas. Like, while some of this is on Alabama, some of there's new receivers. It'll take time. But some of the things like I'm not sure they'll be able to change. I don't like someone. I think it was Joel Class said they just don't have the speed they usually have at receiver. So they do have that Louisville transfer coming back. I think his last name is Harrell. I can't remember his
Yeah,
name. So he can end up making a difference, but I don't think much is going to really change. So Alabama's going to probably have to go back what they usually rely on: run defense or defense and running game to a certain extent, and then let Bryce Young do what he does best. But I don't think they'll be able to rely on having those elite receivers that they've had in the past years, and that may end up coming to haunt them. But as long as Bryce Young's their quarterback, they have a shot. That's the way I look at it.
so you think that Bryce Young could like carry this team on his back without the luxury of having those type of weapons that he had last year?
Yeah, and you can make a case. Think about it. I don't think they may not be. It's just kind of tough. I think they're overall probably better this year. But think about what Bryce Young in a rebuilding year, what he was able to do. He was able to take Alabama all the way to the national championship game and beat Georgia in the SEC championship game. So Bryce Young can definitely do what it takes to win with this team.
Yeah, because that game against Texas, I would say that was all Bryce Young, in my opinion. Yeah, they made an attempt to set. They thought they had sacked him, but he escaped, got the first down, put him in field goal range, and they won the football game. As for Texas, I think they're a good team. I think they're gonna be a really good team in the Big 12, even without Edwards in this game. And going forward for the extended period, this is probably the last time they'll face like a pass rush or a defense like in Alabama. But they did the quarterback that stepped in for Edwards did pretty well. Now I want to ask you, Do you think if Edwards didn't get hurt, do you think Texas would win this game?
Uh, just to correct you, it's Ewers. That's how you
Edwards,
pronounce it.
my bad.
Yeah,
Edwards,
it's fine.
okay.
I just think it's important to know. And then, yeah, if Ewers stays healthy, Texas at least they probably win that game if it goes the way it was going. So that's how much he makes a difference. He was playing really well. Felt bad for the kid, even though I'm an Oklahoma fan. You still want to see the best players play in these type of games, and uh, but Texas still had a shot with Card, and Card had experience last year. I think it should helped him in this game a little bit this year. Unfortunately, he kind of got banged up too. I think had an ankle injury, but played through it. But wow, you got to give credit to Sark. I know it's hard to celebrate a close loss because at the end of the day, in this business, it's all about wins and losses. But you still have to give credit to Texas. Not a lot of people saw that coming from them. I thought it would be closer than people would think. I didn't think it would be that close. I didn't think they would. You can make case they controlled the game for most of it. It's just
You
Alabama
did.
just made a few plays late to ultimately win it. But Texas, I think, is moving in the right direction. How they survive the stretch without yours will be really, really important for their confidence and for how Sark is building this program. But they're definitely on the right track.
Yeah. Maybe if they can continue the way they are. I mean, maybe they could get to the CFP, man. I think that now that Oklahoma game is more important than anything now. The Red River Shootout. Texas already lost one game. Another game lost probably pretty much eliminates them from the hunt. But if they if they can string together a few wins and get past Oklahoma, you may have a shot. And that even though they lost to Alabama, that looks good on the resume. It was a tough loss, close loss, so that would help. So we'll see. All right, moving right along to another SEC team in the SEC West. That's the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Do you believe in this team right now, or do you think it's fool's gold because they beat Memphis pretty good at home? They go on the road. They drop 39 points on the Arizona team in the Pac-12, and this week they have I would say to me is their first major test of the season, in my opinion, against a LSU team on the road in Baton Rouge. What do you think?
I think you kind of answered your own question in a way that this is their first step. They were, let's face it, everyone expected them to beat Memphis, and then Arizona. Jed Fish has that program better, but they were supposed to win that game too. So now we're gonna see what they're really about when they face. Even though LSU is in their first year under Brian Kelly, they're not. Maybe if you don't want to say rebuilding, they're retooling their roster a little bit. This is a game that if you're LSU's favored, probably favored, but Mississippi State can
I
win it.
think State's favorite.
Oh, they are. All right. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I heard.
that may be true. But if I was betting, I'd bet on LSU. They're at home. They should win it. But if you're Mississippi State, you want to get the country's attention. They've done it before, obviously with different coach, different quarterback. Going to LSU and beat. Actually, they did it with. I forgot Mike Leach did it. That is very
Yeah,
forgot about that. He's done it before. So if you
yeah, yeah.
want to get the country's attention again, do it again. Now they fell off after that, but if they really want to get people's attention, go do it again.
So, do you think that between Arkansas and Mississippi State, who's the second best team in the SEC West?
We know number one is Bama. Dang, second team. I'll probably go with Arkansas. I just feel like I trust Sam Pittman more. I trust his staff more, and I trust their quarterback more. So I definitely got to go with Arkansas. And then, even though A&M struggled, I still wouldn't put Mississippi State ahead of them until I see them beat them. That's just me. Uh, and then Ole Miss, I think I still probably put Ole Miss ahead of Mississippi State too.
Really?
I just really don't trust
Quarterback issues.
because Mike Leach, he's run the ball a little bit more this year, but he's still kind of stubborn in terms of he's an air raid guy through and through. Unless if he has to run it, then he'll run it. But until I see it, I'll believe it. But I love to be proven wrong. So they have a chance to win this game, and then maybe make some noise in the SEC West. But uh, in terms of them right now being the second or even third, I think I wouldn't say that best team. I wouldn't say that.
Yeah, I would say I'm not quite sold yet. And based on everything I've heard, is that this is a veteran team. It's year three. And usually in year three for a college coach going to a new program is the year that they take off. Is that the case for Mississippi State? We don't know. Mike. One thing about Mike Leach is that he's not going to win a national title. He'll get close to it, but he'll lose a game he shouldn't lose, and then he'll finish the season with like a 10 win. With like his best teams will win. His best teams will get to like 10 11 wins in the season. But other than that, they won't win a national championship. He in the SEC now, and he should have better resources to recruit. The talent that he needs to compete for a championship, but that has yet to be seen. Maybe we get to see that this year. But he gonna have they'll have a test this week in Baton Rouge against a LSU team that I think can be pretty good when it can the offensive line can protect Jaden Daniels. But we'll see how everything plays out. But other than that, man, I'm not fully sold on that team, Mississippi State, yet. So we'll see how everything plays out. All right. So we're gonna segue to out of SEC now, and we'll talk about Marcus Freeman, the head coach of Notre Dame. The team is now 0-2 after losing a close game in week one to Ohio State. Lost the second week at home to Marshall. Dropped into 0-2, and there's been a lot of like during that game, the aftermath of that game, a lot of people believe that Marcus Freeman could be in trouble in his first year of the program. So do you think that if it gets that bad to where they end up like 7-6, 6-7, bowl game, but they lose, do you think they'll fire Marcus Freeman after just 1 year?
Now, if anything, a ball game would be a success. I think the one thing you got to think about, two things with Marcus Freeman is number one, he's a first year coach at Notre Dame, first first time coach at Notre. That usually doesn't work, but he has recruiting momentum, and he just unfortunately just lost his starting quarterback probably for the rest of the season. So if you make the bowl game, that'll be celebrated. People understand first year they'll give you a pass. Even year two, they'll give you a pass. Now from year 3 and 4 and on, at some point, you want to get to the 8 wins and then ultimately competing for national championships and playoff spots. But the number one thing for this year, the goal is to make a bowl game, and I still think they can do that. It'll be really, really tough because their schedule's kind of brutal, but I think they can do that. But now I would be stunned. I think everyone would be stunned if he got fired after 1 year. It would be crazy.
Yeah, it would behoove them not to do that, even after next year, if things don't get, I would say, turned around all the way. But sometimes this stuff happens, man. New head coach, a guy that's never been a head coach before, been a coordinator for most of his career, an assistant. They get a job at a big time program, and they struggle that first 1 or 2 seasons. So they take about like the year 3 or 4 until they get everything right. But I don't think he's on the hot seat yet, man. He shouldn't have lost that game to Marshall, but it happened. It happens all the time. I mean, to be honest, the Sun Belt has just been making noise the last that for the entire day. So it just happens sometimes, man. It's college football. These type of things occur all the time. Appalachian State beat Texas A&M. Appalachian State beat Michigan a long time ago. So I don't think Marcus Freeman should be fired, man. But you just gotta modernize that offense. Get that offense up to speed. Get it, have his own imprint on that offense. Get it away from move away from what Brian Kelly had in place with that system is ran out there. Because that's how you're gonna win. Compete for playoff spots, national championships when we have an offense that's up to the speed to that can compete with those teams like a Clemson, Alabama, and Ohio State because they haven't had that in a long time in Notre Dame. So we'll see how it plays out. All right, so like one of the next, and I believe it's happened the next day, the day after the game, and I stayed up to watch this game. This matchup is between Nebraska and Georgia State. So Nebraska, I believe, lost that game 45-42 to
Uh, it was some
45, yeah, 45-42 to Georgia Southern at home. And Nebraska, according to the article, Nebraska had been a 3 touchdown favorite. So they're saying that Georgia Southern had no business compete with Nebraska. So the next day, Scott Frost, former Cornhusker player, not a head coach, was fired by the Nebraska. Let's go ahead and read a couple of excerpts from the article from ESPN. Earlier today, I met with Coach Frost and informed him we were making a change in leadership of our college of our football program, effective immediately. Scott has poured his heart and soul into the Nebraska football program, both as a quarterback and a head coach, and I appreciate his work and dedication. Nebraska Vice Chancellor of Athletics, Trev Albert said in a statement. Associate head coach Mickey Joseph will take over for the rest of the season. Nebraska hosts Oklahoma on Sunday. Oh, that's gonna be hard. Frost will receive his full $15 million buyout. Alberts told reporters at a news conference the buyout amount would have dropped to 7.5 million on October 1st. Albert told reporters he needed to make a change, now to be fair to the players and others around the program. We owe it to the players to give them a different voice, perhaps slightly different version, Albert said. Give them some confidence and opportunity. I know how disruptive these changes are, but we need to inject something into this team to give them the confidence and hopefully help them compete. Nothing will please me more than to see a pretty significant change and help this team get over the hump and win some games. Albert said, moving forward with both interim coach Joseph into the future is to stop looking at the past and focus on what needs to be done to win. All right, so I'm just wrap it up right there. So, what do you think are some potential candidates that will come in and take this job, that will leave where they at to take the job?
Wow, there's a long, long list, but I'll narrow it to maybe like four or five. Chris Kleiman, the Kansas State coach, he's done a really excellent job at Kansas State. He was at North Dakota State for years, and I think he'd be that type of coach that he's not a sexy name, but he gets the best out of his players. And I think in Nebraska, let's just face it, you're probably not going to be recruit on the levels of the Ohio States, the Michigans. So you need a coach that can get the best out of his players, and Chris Kleiman can do that. Matt Campbell is another one. Iowa State. Someone made this point, or made a point like someone may ask, why will Matt Campbell leave Iowa State for Nebraska? Nebraska will have a bigger budget where, for example, let's say another school tries to take one of the assistant coaches, he's probably more likely to stay unless if it's a promotion like a really, really good coordinator job or a head coaching job. So that's why I could see uh, um, Matt Campbell taking Nebraska because it's a similar fit to Iowa State. He's a Midwest guy, and it wouldn't be that big of a jump in his opinion, and the money would make the difference in my opinion, and why he would take that job. Um, I would put Mickey Joseph there as a candidate. I don't think he'll get it, but I think if he does a solid job as the interim coach, and then he pitches them a really, really good presentation on why he should be the head coach, assuming they give him that opportunity, then I think he can get the job. Um, Matt Rule, if he becomes available, I think would be if I was the Nebraska AD, he'd probably be my number one choice if he became available. I think he just is a really, really good college coach. He's a program builder, and I think that's exactly what Nebraska need. They need structure. They need someone who can come in there, bring good energy, and just build that program from the scratch up to where it needs to be. And then I'm trying to think of another one off the top of my head. This he probably won't leave, and he probably I won't say he probably won't leave. He may not get the job, but what he's done at Kansas so far, Lance LaPointe has done a really, really good job at Kansas, and I think he's a really, really good coach. And I think he could do similar stuff in Nebraska if given the opportunity. And he'll have probably a much bigger budget there than Kansas. So I think he could work wonders in Nebraska.
So what about Ed Orgeron?
That would be an
He can
interesting.
recruit.
Yeah, he can recruit. Um, I don't even know if he would want that job, but it would be. I would interview him, but I don't know. I think I was kind of thinking of that earlier today, but I was thinking, is Ed Orgeron really that good of a coach, or was he just at a really good job like LSU, where you're gonna get talent? You're gonna get talent. You do know better than I would. LSU, you get talent, and so over time it was proven maybe he's not that great of a coach. And think about it, at Nebraska, you're not gonna have that talent that you're gonna have at LSU.
But he can recruit.
Yeah, yeah, a little bit. But
No, he can recruit a lot.
Scott Frost actually didn't do that bad of a job recruiting. His development was the problem. So maybe, and you can maybe say the transfer portal opens things up too, but it's all about development. I'd probably go with someone who's had a more proven track record than Edo. You could say he won the national title, but outside of that year, what else did he do at LSU? Not that much. So I'd probably go after Joe Brady or Dave Aranda before I go after Edo. That's just me.
What about Gus Malzahn?
Because UCF is moving to the Big 12, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think same thing. Luke Fickle would be another name I'd look at, but I think he's a Cincinnati guy. The only job he would leave for is Ohio State, excuse me, or maybe an NFL job. If it was the perfect one, I think he would leave too. Tom Herman. Say what?
Dana Holgerson. I don't think he's that good of a coach though.
He's an all right coach, but I think he stays at Houston. He's gone back to the Big 12, so he's familiar with that. I think he would like that. But Tom Herman would be an interesting name. Same thing with Dan Mullen. I think they deserve second, third chances. And the thing with Dan Mullen, I think this could potentially be similar to what he had at Mississippi State, where Nebraska, they may have championship expectation, but realistically, they're not going to win the national championship. So it could be probably a better version of Mississippi State in terms of like resources and all that. But I think Dan Mullen, he'll have to recruit a little bit. I know sometimes he doesn't want to do that, and he'll have his body language at the end of his Florida tenure was awful. But if he has the right staff, and he's a really great offensive mind. So he can figure out offense. If you get a good defensive coordinator, I think he could do a solid job with the Nebraska Cornhuskers. What are your thoughts?
You think Brian Dable could take that job? Not Brian Dable. Bill O'Brien.
That's another name. I definitely believe he deserves a college job. And if you think about what he had to deal with Penn State, people don't mention that. Josh Pate, you probably heard of him. He made the point that a lot of people believe the job that Bill O'Brien did at Penn State was underrated. Considering the sanctions they were dealing with, he did a really, really solid job dealing with that program, and you wouldn't have to deal with that at Nebraska. So I think Bill O'Brien would be a solid job, and it sure helps when you come from the Nick Saban tree. That right there already gives you good name recognition. And I think Bill O'Brien's a good enough coach on his own. But I think he's learned from Coach Saban, and I think he would do a solid job if given the opportunity. But I think he'd probably prefer NFL opportunity over a college opportunity. But I feel like if he got offered the Nebraska job, he would take it.
Yeah, those names that you mentioned, there are. I would say that those are some of the guys they would probably look at to become the next head coach. In regards to them not being national championship contenders anymore, I would disagree with that to a certain extent because you never know what could happen. In college football, you never know which year a program is going to be down. This one could be down. Michigan could be down. Ohio State. If you could get somebody like a Mel Tucker type in there in Nebraska and have them in the hunt for a championship, I think it could work. It's up to them what want on what they want as a head coach. But to me, the Big Ten, I don't think they ever won a national champ. Well, they won one national championship since the whole playoff format started. And to me, those defenses in the Big Ten get exposed once they play outside the conference against teams that got equal talent, equal weapons on the outside. The only team that's in the Big Ten that's like I think that mirrors Alabama to a certain extent, mirrors Alabama and Clemson and Georgia and all that is Ohio State. Michigan, Michigan State. They're just Wisconsin. They're just your typical I would say Big Ten teams, man. You know, and that's good for the conference and all that, but they can't compete outside the Big Ten and bowl games. So if they can find a Mel Tucker type, a guy that can like a Mel Tucker that can coach, that can recruit, give resources, I think it'll work. So we'll see how everything plays out. Any final thoughts?
One other thing I forgot to add that Nebraska has some NIL opportunities that could make that job a little bit more attractive than people think, and I think that could help them in some cases. Chris Hummer, he wrote a really good article on 247 Sports about the Nebraska job, and he mentioned that, so I thought that was important.
Okay. Yeah, man. I think Joe Brady could be a good option, but does he want to recruit? You know what I'm saying? I think Matt Rule would be great for him. I think Matt Rule could get them to where they want to be as a program. Because right now it's just Michigan State, Ohio State, and Michigan. I'm still not. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Harbaugh. You know, but we'll see how everything plays out. All right, so moving right along. We want to talk about the Southern Heritage Classic, and more in particular, what went down after it in the post game presser. I wish Seabury was here because I
Yeah.
wanted to like get him to like elaborate on what was said, but I got a column I pulled up on my phone. I'm going to read some of the excerpts from it. I saw this earlier in the week about Deion Sanders not really caring about the rivalry with Tennessee State at the Southern Heritage Classic. So I'm going to go ahead and just read a few excerpts from it, written by Mark Giannato, a commercial appeal. The Sun had more tact than the father. Shadur Sanders at least tried to talk around how little Jackson State's football history and its biggest non-conference rival mattered to him. He didn't want to just outright say how little traditions built over decades, traditions that turned an annual game into a cultural experience, mattered to his school anymore. But then Deion Sanders cut him off during the post-game press conference. We don't care, he announced. Perhaps it's better that Sanders isn't shying away from how he really feels. Perhaps that's how this version of the Southern Heritage Classic will end. With Coach Prime kicking dirt on a pageantry Memphis has played host to for 33 years, with Southern Heritage Classic founder Fred Jones Jr. standing in the back of the room, no less. Jackson State's 16-3 win over Tennessee State on Saturday night very well could be the last time these teams face in Memphis. That would be disappointing, especially since it seems to revolve around money. The money Jackson State thinks it should be getting from that Southern Heritage Classic. Now it's that Sanders is coaching, and the money Sanders believe he was hired to generate. That's the refrain he keeps returning to, and it remains a reasonable explanation for his stance. Quote, "We just got here. I just arrived here," Sanders said when asked to explain his "we don't care" comment and whether he is interested in continuing to play Tennessee State, be it in Memphis or elsewhere. What I am saying is we got to do better business. That's what I was talking about. He continued. So whether we do it in Jackson or in Tennessee, I'm good. I'm good. If we get the business right, we can do it here. But I'm for the business of making sure these kids are straight, not coming up here and having to borrow some gas money on the way back. That's what's That's what this is about. So I'm looking for the interest of our kids. So as far as the rivalry, all of us just got here. We don't know nothing about it. All right, I'm gonna just end it right there. So I just want to get your takeaways on what was said by Prime and that presser, based on what I said.
I just want to make sure I'm getting this right. So basically, he doesn't want to continue with the Southern Heritage Classic because Jackson State isn't getting enough money from it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. In my opinion, I went to the game last year. It was a really nice atmosphere. It's unfortunate if that's the reason why. I understand his point of view. I hope there's some sort of resolution, but if it ends, it's unfortunate that it was because of money. Especially when you probably knew what you were getting into when you took this job. You know what I mean. You understood the situation. So if it's something that they can fix, or maybe they can like sometimes play it at Jackson State, and maybe they don't play it at Memphis anymore, but they're able to. Jackson State and TSU are still able to. I don't know, but I understand some of where Dion's coming from, but uh, I don't know. I don't know if he went about it the right way. And when I say he, it's not just him; it's really Jackson, the whole Jackson State, how they handled it. But it is what it is. If it is the end thing, if TSU wants to play in it, hopefully they can find someone to replace them with Jackson State. Maybe TSU can start playing Memphis every once in a while. I don't know, but it's unfortunate if it has to end this way.
I will say this, man. So you've been playing this game here 33 years, and no previous coach has ever like mentioned this stuff. How ironic is that? And they've been doing HBCUs have been doing these type of games for years, man, and they never complain.
Yeah, it's a good point.
So I mean, I get what he's saying. I get the logic, behind it, but he got. I think he went the wrong way about saying it, man. Especially with the founder of the classic sitting in the back, man. It's just bad optics right there, in my opinion.
I feel like this should have.
Also,
I'm
yeah,
sorry
go
for
ahead.
cutting you.
Go ahead.
I feel like this should have been handled behind closed
Yeah,
doors instead of making it public. That would have been the better way to handle
and then um, a lot of other people outside of the kids. I understand the business of taking care of the kids is important, but there's other people outside of this that eat off that need this stuff too to happen. You know what I'm saying? The city needs this stuff to
it.
happen. It's an economic driver. And also, I want to ask you this, man. If the Southern Heritage Classic was played in Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta or in a Nissan Stadium in Nashville, would this even be brought up? Would he even be wanting to do this?
That's a good point. I didn't think about that. That's a good point. Maybe he doesn't like Memphis. I know. A lot of people, I don't know, but it's a good point. I just my thing is like I know that they're in a financial maybe bind in terms of their water situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you make a good point there. Maybe it's just he just doesn't like where it's being played. If it was played in a different, he did kind of mention something. I can't remember exactly what he said, but maybe that's his biggest gripe that it's being played maybe at a neutral site, and maybe at this particular neutral site, and maybe if it was somewhere else, or if it was a home and home, he would be fine with that. I don't know, but it is what it is.
I think I just think that if this was played like New Orleans or Nashville, Nissan Stadium, and Mercedes-Benz Stadium, I don't know, Jerry World, I don't think he would say nothing. He wouldn't have said this wouldn't even been brought up, man. I just think. So we'll see. All right, so I want to ask something else, man. For Memphis, this is a Memphis related topic, real quick. How would you feel about Memphis playing, setting up a home and home series with Appalachian State? How you think that would go?
I would love that. Hopefully, I'll get to go back to App State. I told you in the group chat, I've been to App State. It's a beautiful campus. But I think App State and Memphis, they're similar type of programs. Some people made the point they kind of wish App State would have joined the AAC instead of Charlotte, but it is what it is. But yeah, I would love that series. Kind of would be like similar to the Boise State Memphis series, two really similar programs. And you can make case App State and Boise State. If Memphis isn't already there, they're at the level they're trying to get, where they're competing for conference championships and potentially going to other big places like Texas A&M, like Michigan, like I can't remember who, but well, it was a neutral site game. Unfortunately, not to bring this up when Boise State beat Oklahoma, but yeah,
Yeah.
games like that. So I think Memphis definitely should schedule them if the opportunity came.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing that, man. I wouldn't mind seeing them play against Georgia Southern, Marshall, Appalachian State. It'd be some lot of scoring in those games, but we'll see how things shake out going forward. All right, that's all we have for y'all for right now. Give us a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Let us know how you feel on all these topics we talked about. If you listen to this through Apple or Spotify, give us a 5-star rating, leave a review, leave your thoughts on any of the topics we talked about tonight. Also, check out strike7sports.com for latest content on the NFL, the NBA, and much more. We'll be releasing our college football weekly picks for week 3, and that'll be the first ever game of the week prediction post for the end of the 2022 NFL season. Have a blessed night. Peace. We out.